Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we are going to go back to the past just to look at some meme coins because, ladies and gentlemen, we have to look back and see if there's any data that could pretty much give us an indication of where Turbo might end up. Now, I did go back for a second and I did notice one thing that there are way less relevant meme coins, right? Meme coins that did blow up, to the high billions of market cap. There weren't too many. There was something like SafeMoon, Dogecoin, and Shiba. And of course, there was a lot of cryptos that went from like 5, 10, 100K market cap to a million, 2 million. But overall, in terms of the big boys, there's not that many. But we can see something like Dogecoin, right? For a very, very long time, this thing was at a decent market cap, right? It was around the market cap where we're at, like around 300 million, and it shot up all the way over 70 billion market cap, people. You understand that? Do you understand how insane that is? That is really, really tippable. Okay. Now, am I saying Turbo is going to do the same thing? No, not necessarily. But I do expect for there to be a even bigger altcoin season than last time, and I expect meme coins to be even more serious this time. Okay, because people saw the power of meme coins last cycle, and they were like, "Wow, there's so much money to be made. Like there's so much money to be made." And we can see, right, this thing went from a couple hundred million market cap to all the way to 70 billion. When we go to the historical snapshot, we can even see that Shiba Inu was even higher than Dogecoin at one point when it was the 31st of October in 2021. I mean, look at this. Pretty much half a trillion for Ethereum, which is absolutely crazy. Right? Bitcoin is at 61K. I mean, these times are just great. You had Uniswap at 25 bucks. I mean, look at that 15 billion market cap here. You recognize some of these coins. Some of these coins are kind of irrelevant now. Some of them are still some top coins. But yeah, we had Shiba Inu all the way back there doing fairly good. And we can see, right? The thing is with Shiba, it was kind of like it just came out of nowhere. And then, but we can see, right? July 2021 or 2021, it was at 2.5 billion and it rose all the way to 35, right? A little bit higher than 35 technically, because this is always a little bit cut short. We can see your coins, even during the billions of market cap, they could go to the tens of billions easily, right? Easily. And you know what? There's going to be a lot of meme coins that do very, very well this cycle. Okay. So think about these coins, right? If none of them really drop off or fall off too hard, you could all pretty much expect, you know, I don't know about a 10x from Doge, but Doge can probably still 4 to 5x in its peak. Sheep will probably 10x. Pepe can definitely 10 to 15x. I mean, all these coins can do very, very well. But you gotta remember, people are going to be looking for the next big boy. What is under sub 1 billion market cap? And we can see our beloved Turbo is here. Right, beloved Turbo is here. Yes, it's down 15% in the last, 25, or sorry, in the last, what is this, 7 days. I don't know why my brain farted, but we can see we're still doing better than a lot of coins. Remember, Peanut was above us at one point. It was at 2 billion market cap, and now this thing is sitting below. You guys got to remember, there's many, many cryptos that did better than us that are sitting below us right now. Um, I mean, Melena's all the way. Melena's in the dumps. Nero's in the dumps. Mudang's in the dumps. So you got to remember, this AI coin is in the dumps. Book of Meme is in the dumps. Giga's in the dumps. I mean, look at these. These coins, they are struggling. I know Turbo is not in its peak prime right now, but this thing is sitting in a very, very good spot, right? We usually, we are contenders with Toshi. Toshi's very respectable. I still think we're better than Mogcoin, but yeah, Brett's up here. We have a little bit of a new ones. Then we have some of the old ones that have been here for some time. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I still ultimately think, when people are going to be looking for that risk to reward, they're going to be looking at coins like Turbo, maybe Brett, maybe Toshi, right? Popcat, these ones probably less unless there's a really next level cat meme meta. I mean, Peanut the squirrel, absolutely not. So I do think, we are still more than capable of hitting that 10 to 20 billion market cap zone. And I am confident in Turbo. People don't understand how crazy this cycle can actually get, right? You gotta remember when we go to something like Dogecoin, for example, this thing was absolutely like down here. Okay. It was down here. So even if you did something like the Fibonacci tool, let's say from this top to the bottoms, right? And you, let's see, we flip it, boom, boom. And you're expecting it to go to like the 3.2. Yeah, you hit it. But then the reality is went much, much higher after that. Right. And the same thing with Sheeb, right? Sheep USD. Let's go to crypto. Right, this thing was just down here. Like it was just down here. It was just flat. And next thing you know, it just gained momentum. Right, all it takes is one good connection. All it takes is good previous historical data. All it takes is just the spotlight being on turbo. And next thing you know, you see some gigantic chart like this, people. Okay. Momentum is a real thing, right? Momentum is a real thing. And do not discount, turbo. Do not think it's going to be over for a crypto like turbo. Look at even actually Shiba, right? Look how low Shiba is compared to all this other, like all the other coins. Like Shiba's down at some of the bottoms it had in 2024 and 2023. I mean, look at this, right? Yeah, technically, if you're into Shiba, you could get it right now because it is fairly decently solid. But like, look, it's fairly low. Something like Turbo, like I said, Turbo's holding much better. Sheep might not even do well this cycle. There's new hot cryptos that are here to be in the spotlight. Right? We go to something like Turbo, like this. If we were the equivalent of Shiba, we would be somewhere down here, not a little bit higher like this, right? But we're not. We're not. Yeah. Are we a little bit lower? Like, are we lower, obviously, than these highs? Yeah. But the thing is, people, the whole market's like this, right? The whole market's like this. But the market makers know that ultimately, when altcoin season is going to happen, cryptos are going to explode. It's going to be the craziest couple of months of our lives. So, you know, that is why ultimately they're going to make sure that everything gets dragged out, right? Everything gets dragged out. Now, let's talk about the recent bias, the recent analysis. We can see in the last day we did go up a couple percent, nothing too crazy. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, to be honest, right? We do have a decent rejection off of this zone over here of 0.0042. But ladies and gentlemen, right, we would really need to break above it and see some closes to see some kind of momentum switch, right? This for me is not the most convincing. I do actually think we probably will come back down one more time before we start reversing, just because Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is really lingering around this area, and it's not the most convincing candle. Like, this price action is not convincing at all, to be honest. So I would not be surprised if we go and once again go back down and sweep probably back to around 111K, taking out these bottoms here at like around 112K, possibly this area at 110 and a half. Before then, we make some type of aggressive push to the upside, right? So just do not get discouraged if you see it go lower. Like I said, technically Turbo can go lower, right? Technically it can. We can go as low as pretty much 0.0032, right? Because we have this weekly candle close here at 0.0031. And technically, as long as we're above that, we can even go, like I said, all the way down to the 3-2 zone before we see some type of bounce back. Right? Do not get discouraged, right? Even if it goes below temporarily, right? We can see that when we had a pump, right? We went above the highs, but the close was weak. So even if there's a chance that we do go below, as long as we don't close below and we close above the three, like pretty much the 3-1, right? Do not, like, that's actually going to be a very good sign, because that would be a fake out, and most likely we would be reversing to the upside. I know everything's been dragful, but you got to remember, like, everything always looks kind of dead and annoying before it pumps, right? Selling off, dead and annoying, flatline, and it starts going up. So I do believe the better days are ahead for Turbo, and I'm still super bullish on this crypto. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.